What great timing to have a conversation with Matt, the mortgage guy. Scott Bessent came out this morning and he freaking blinked. He was tired of high rates and he came out and we're buying double $4 billion of the long end of the curve. Why? Because he doesn't want rates high. Why? Because it's stopping the mortgage and real estate market. So we've got to ask Matt, the mortgage guy, have rates gotten better today because they brought out the big bazooka? Can you hear the money printer, folks? It is warming up, and we've got another big print coming. Matt, what say you?
All right. So I got good news and bad news. The good news is like any green on a mortgage-backed candle where mortgage rates get better is a good sign. But if I look at, some of the stuff I follow, like MBS Highway with Barry Habib, we've got a whole 13 basis points better today,
And now,
and for anybody
you talk basis points, what's that mean to an average citizen like me?
That means that rates probably went from, a 6.72 to a 6.69 or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's like nothing.
Yeah. So we're on a rate, we're talking 0.02 to 0.03 better. Right.
Okay.
Which isn't big. Like it's great and it's positive. But
it breaks the trend, right? I mean, hasn't mortgage rates until this morning, the last 3 weeks, basically been up and to the right? I mean, hasn't that been the trend?
I mean, you can look at like from February when we peaked below 6% till today, and it's kind of just
a line,
all been up. And so, having rates, I'm looking at it right now, and like Mortgage News Daily had 6.75 yesterday and 6.72 today. So like I said, it's
three,
like 0.03 from a percentage rate standpoint.
Well, let's talk about it. Because again, I'm going to guess Scott Bessent was hoping for more. Let's just be real. He doesn't like where rates are, definitely on the long end.
Mm-hmm.
It slows the economy down, both, individuals and companies. It makes financing the government debt even crazier. And we just did a $2 trillion negative, which is freaking stupid. And he took out a big bazooka. And let's be clear, this is his second attempt. He went out to save the Japanese yen like 10 days ago. And now he's trying this. So I think it's very clear that the administration, Treasury, Trump, the Fed, want lower rates. I'm just not sure they're going to get it. And frankly, I think the bond vigilantes look at what Scott Bessent did today and laugh. They're like, that's all you got? You got 3 basis points?
Yeah. Well,
I'll show you.
And what I think immediately in my head is like, this might help keep us away from 7, but I don't think this alone will get us to 6, if that makes sense.
No,
right?
I think, dude, it won't get us to 6.5.
Right.
You're not going to get a big move
even
today.
If this was like something that, continued on, even increased, it's like, this is, one AR-15 in a war, right? It's not a tank, and it's not anything,
not an aircraft carrier. Yeah.
Right. Bigger than that. And so, I think overarching message that I would want people to hear is, one, stop focusing so much on rates. It's never helped any home buyer. It's never helped an investor to obsess over rates, watch rates, have any of your buying decision tied to where rates are. Because rates are more than likely, if I had to bet, going to stay in the 6.5 to 7% range for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I would tell you, I mean, see if you agree or disagree with this. I think the chances are we see a 7 handle before we see a 5 handle.
Yes. I don't like to say it, but you're right. And you know me, Mike, I'm friggin'.
Yeah, you're team optimist. I actually expect you to disagree.
Right. I was trying to. I had to fight everything in me to even let those words come out, where it's like, yeah, if I had to put my money on it, and you told me to bet 7 versus 5.99,
which comes first? Yeah,
the 7's the favorite for sure. So So yeah, it's
so let me ask you this. So I think it is now painfully clear that this administration is going to warm up the money printer. Now, they won't call it QE, they'll call it something else. But it's interesting. You look at what they announced, and bonds went down 3 measly basis points. Gold is up monster today. Bitcoin's up crazy today. This is all risk assets that are now saying basically, okay, you guys are gonna do the big print. This is wild to me that we're gonna do this again.
Right. Yeah. And it's tough. I feel like we've been saying this for too long. But I've been, listening to more. I watched you on Ryan Pineda's podcast. It was great. But guys like me and you who love real estate realize that things are tough and there's no clear path where we wake up in 6 months, affordability is great and things are great. It's going to take time,
years.
Right. Yeah. Years and years. And that's the conversation I've had with anybody who tells me, well, I think I might wait. I think I might do this. I think I might do that. I was thinking in my head about some sort of presentation I could do to just tell people, like, what's your plan if nothing changes? If for the next 5 years, rates are in a range, for the next 5 years, home prices don't come down, and that doesn't excite you. They also don't increase by a ton.
Yeah, they're flat. Yep.
And your wages increase by 2 or 3%, because I think a lot of the decisions today are, I know I want to buy. I just want to feel like I buy at the right time, which again, will say it. Yeah. Anybody who's talking about the stock market will say it. Like, timing the market is a bad game plan.
Yeah. And that's what I tried to communicate in Ryan's video. And that actually conversation helped me. And I said that a week ago, because that was recorded after that hedge fund blew up, whatever his name was, Leopold. After it was recorded the very next day. So it was on a Friday and Leopold blew up on Thursday, to give you guys context. And I was trying to communicate in that video with Ryan and his bald co-host, Brian, that it sucks today, right? If you're on the transaction side of the business, it sucks. I think the next 6 months are going to be the hardest of the cycle, which really hurts me to say, because there's so many people struggling today. However, there is one buyer. There's one party that wins, and that's buy and hold long-term real estate, because you can get aggressive and write disrespectful offers. I don't have to close a deal. So if we're going to get one done, it's going to be a great deal. And that's just comforting, right? And housing market's frozen.
Yeah.
Right?
You want to hear a funny story too, because if nothing else, I've got a bunch of stories from the field of working with people. A trend I've noticed lately is that some of these fence buyers who are looking to upgrade their house, they need more space. They got a family. But the affordability issue is their issue. So it's like, man, I really want this nicer house, this better neighborhood, whatever the criteria is, but $4,400 is a stretch. They're now turning into the investors that put out an offer and go, I don't have to buy.
Yeah.
I've got a house with a 3% interest rate. I'm fine. And so it's an interesting dynamic right now to be a seller. On Tuesday, I go to a real estate meeting, and boy, oh boy, it sucks to be a seller. It really sucks.
Exactly.
And agents who are selling, buddy hits me up. Hey, I need new flyers for these 2 properties. This one fell out. This one just got reduced again. At that meeting on Tuesday, all they're talking about is like, man, this house is dialed. It's perfect. We went from $699 to $679 to $649. This thing's got to sell. And I know why it's not selling is because the buyers are, in this position where it's got to take the perfect storm. And I was telling the agents that I was talking to there, I've been busy and transactions have been happening for me in my business. But if I look at it and I analyze it, it's like very specific life events that make it like, yes, I'm going to. House comes up for sale next to my son and my grandkids. That's the house I want.
Right.
I'm going to put it in and then I've got to talk to the listing agent to be like, listen, when we submit this offer, you need to communicate to your sellers. The first offer is usually the best offer. Right. In this market, the first offer might be your only offer.
Only offer. Yeah.
So I would highly recommend you do everything you can with a great buyer who's motivated and is probably going to pay you more than you should get because it's the perfect house. Right. And there's other examples of that where it's, people have to move and transactions are happening, but to be a seller, to have a mediocre home that's been on the market for 30 days, I think you're right where, it's not getting any better, which may sound gloomy, but the one rental time community, I know they lick their lips when they hear that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They're going to have sellers that are in positions to, have to sell. Yep. And then as a buyer, you're like, well, here's my offer. And the funny part is I told the agent on that one, quick story. I said, I know you're not going to do this because I know the clients want the house. But if you get any pushback about this day one offer, because that's the thing too, is agents are always like, agents and sellers alike. They get an offer on the first day. They're like, oh my gosh, my house is amazing. It's already got an offer. They expect more. I said, if it was me, and I know you won't do this, I would submit an offer, but I would let the listing agent know my offer gets reduced by a certain amount of dollars every day, right?
Right.
It's $7.15 today. It's $7.10 next week. It's $7.05 the week after. So yeah, let the market check it out. Do your thing. Hold tight if you want to try to get more, but my offer is a declining offer.
Yeah, I think I've done that plenty of times, especially when a seller is disrespectful. Right? Sellers always think they have the unicorn, and most of them don't. And I have used that strategy many times, right? Sorry, that offer was 2 weeks ago. This is my new offer. And by the way, the one I give you in 2 weeks will also be lower. Yeah. I'm the only person coming to the dance. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I like to live vicariously through agents by just like coaching them up of what I would do if I was the agent in the situation. Yeah. And, maybe it's best that I'm not an agent because I might piss people off.
Yeah, you never know. There you go. Well, again, it's really interesting. Again, if you are looking at stuff, you do have a reprieve, a couple of basis points today because of the bazooka. I do not know if it sticks. Again, they may have to grow this, may have to do it again. Who knows? Clearly, the administration wants lower rates. I don't know that the bond vigilantes are going to give them. But, dude, I can hear the money printer. The money printer is warming up. And things might get interesting. If somebody wanted to reach out to you and chop it up, see what's what do they do?
Go to mtmg.com. Me and my team are happy to help. Still doing a ton of those home equity lines of credit, investment properties, primary homes, doing DSCR loans. Everybody does DSCR loans now. Every single wholesale lender I talk with. The important part about DSCR loans, and ORAT, would benefit from listening to this, is that's the last loan you want to go out there and chase the best terms. Yeah. There are some companies that couldn't close a DSCR loan to save their life. And so they'll dangle a carrot and they'll be an eighth better than all the other DSCR lenders, but you'll never get to the finish line. Right. So make sure that whoever you talk to as your mortgage broker has worked with multiple lenders and can say, yes, this lender is great. They can actually close the thing in 3.5 weeks, and we'll look on the rate stack, figure out what makes the most sense for you, work with the seller credit and all that good stuff. But I've seen people get in trouble with that recently. So yeah, we do it all kinds of loans. We're happy to help. mtmg.com.
Thank you, buddy. Have a good week.
Thanks, Mike.